State Representative Jeffrey Elmore with your weekly session update for March 30th. Extremely busy week at the General Assembly this week, and I'm going to give you some highlights. We had a veto override this week, and we've had several bills pass that I would like to talk to you about. The budget has moved through committee. I just finished maybe about an hour ago hearing a little over 70 amendments to the budget document. And the next step for the budget document is that it will move to the floor next week. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and some stuff going on in the district. First, I want to say I was happy to be a participant for a CTE panel discussion over at DPI. There were about 40 CTE students from all over the state. And what CTE is, these are your workforce classes that are at the high school level: welding, auto repair, home economics. And these students came to Raleigh to learn about the legislative process and how it affects CTE. So I really enjoyed my time sharing with the students there this week. Now some bills, some highlights on some bills from this week. First, we overrode Governor Cooper's veto of Senate Bill 41, which was titled Guarantees Second Amendment Freedom and Protections. This is the first successful veto override since 2018. It did get the 3/5 majority needed to override. So what it does is it repeals the pistol permit requirement from the sheriffs. The Sheriff's Association was actually supportive of eliminating this requirement. It also eliminates the problem of concealed carry for churches that have schools on site. So it makes it clear that during their church services, they are able to have their concealed carry if they choose. And this is very important for a lot of our churches with their safety teams that they have in place for the church services. So both of those items are now law because we overrode Governor Cooper's veto. This week in the House, and we moved to the Senate, was HB 142, Protect Our Students Act. This was an initiative pushed by State Superintendent Catherine Truitt. And what this deals with is something that's, it's horrible, but it does exist. This is sexual offenses by school employees against students. And what this does, this tightens the penalties of that. It makes it clear that this will affect your teaching license, so you just cannot move from place to place if you've committed one of these offenses. And also, if you're convicted of these offenses, it will affect your retirement. So it really tightens all of the laws dealing with that, and that was an initiative from our State Superintendent, Catherine Truitt. That bill is now in the Senate. We also passed HB 210. This is sponsored by Majority Leader John Bale. Reduce barriers to state employment. What this bill asks is that there's an evaluation done on the requirements for certain state jobs. Are the requirements so stringent that it really doesn't match the job itself? And that's what this bill will do. Hopefully this will help analyze positions to make sure that we are competitive with the constricted workforce that we're experiencing all over the state and help reduce some barriers. So that was a very good bill for state employment there. A bill that I did not support passed the House this week, HB 347. This is sports wagering. I did not vote for this bill, and the bill passed 64 to 45. I do have some concerns with the expansion of gambling, especially online. So I did not support this bill, but it is passed, and now it moves over to the state Senate. Also, we sent to the state Senate HB 496. This is the Work and Save Act. This is a bill that I've co-sponsored this time, and I've co-sponsored it last session. What this would allow is for small businesses to be able to pool money to help with their workers' retirement accounts. Many times, small businesses that may only have 3 to 5 employees, something like that, they do not have the economy of scale to be able to provide retirement benefits. What this would do would allow similar businesses like theirs to pool their money together to where people can establish retirement accounts. This is supported by AARP because of the concerns of people going into their Social Security age and really not having enough money because it is hard to sustain just off Social Security. On the budget front, We held a press conference on 3/29 when we dropped the budget, which that was yesterday, and the budget is now public on the NCGA website, and it moved through committee today. Here's a copy of the budget adjustments. This does not deal with the whole base budget, which would fill this whole table. These are the changes that were proposed. There were over 70 amendments offered today. Some passed, some failed. So now the document will be rolled into a new document with those amendments. I handle the salary section, and I wanted to just give you some highlights on what the salary section does. We did an injection because of inflation, which we cannot control. Our national policies have put inflationary pressures on every family, especially with food cost and gas. We wanted to do as much as we can to make our employees weather this inflation storm. So basically, what we did was across the board, 4.25 in year one and 3.25 increase for our state employees. And we also created an account called LMAR, which is 1% of the payroll in the state departments that can be used in a flexible way for hard to fill positions, high cost positions that our current structure is not able to handle. Now, how does that filter down to state funded positions but local? These are your school systems, your community colleges, your universities. We took the same mantra and injected it into the pay scales. And then with the LMAR, we approached it a little bit different because they don't have that structure. So for our teachers, for example, we injected the money into the teacher pay scale, and with the steps included, and then we injected money into the teacher supplement fund and reworked that to make sure that our local supplements are competitive in rural counties and also urban counties. That ended up creating 11.2% average. So some steps on the scale are almost at 14%, some are at 17.5% after the money was injected. But for our rural fund, with our adjustments that we made, Alexander County qualifies for a max out of this, so we would be sending $5,000 per teacher in state aid to the teacher supplement. And also in Wilkes, we max out with the new formula, which would put it at $5,000. This is a huge increase from last session of this, and that increase statewide was almost $70 million. Our non-certified staff received the same as the across the board with the state. And we did something a little bit additional for bus drivers because of the problems that we're having with retaining and recruiting bus drivers. We added an additional 2% in year one. So they're at 6.25%, then they'll receive the 3.25 in the second year. Some additional things that we did on top dealt with law enforcement and people that deal with the judicial system. So we did additional increases for the highway patrol. We also did additional increases for ADAs, those are assistant district attorneys, SBI, and ALE. On the community college front, we did the across the board, and we, for their LMAR, we put almost $26 million in the faculty retention and recruitment fund, and these are geared towards your hands-on courses, your nursing courses, your welding courses, to where they can use that to pay a little bit more to be able to hire those professors in those areas. We did the same thing with UNC, and we put $15 million in their retention and recruitment fund. So a very powerful salary package that the House has put forward, and hopefully it will meet the needs of our state employees and help with the inflation and the retention and recruitment. Also in this budget, you're going to see tax cuts. We accelerated our reduction of the personal income tax for the second year of the biennium, and we also increased the standard deduction. By increasing the standard deduction, you are helping people that are workers that may not be on a high income scale. That increase of the standard deduction really helps them. And there were some other small tax revisions that were in the budget also. Now on the local front, I want to talk about a couple of things. Saw in the paper, and I want to compliment Speedway Charities. Already doing work through the North Wilkesboro Speedway for children's charities, which is the focus of the SMI charitable arm. And congratulations to Blue Ridge Opportunity Commission, Ebenezer's Children's Home, Hope Ministries, and Safe Spot Advocacy Center for Wilkes. They all received $10,000 each through this charitable organization. It's very exciting for those groups because they all are truly helping children in Wilkes. Also, I missed a shout out to the town of Wilkesboro for a T-Mobile grant. I talked about North Wilkesboro receiving their T-Mobile grant for the farmers market. Wilkesboro also received a T-Mobile grant of $48,000. So congratulations, Wilkesboro, on your work there. In conclusion, the All-Star Race is only 50 days away. Very exciting for our community. And the monies are in the budget for the economic incentive that was put forth. Several months ago, I talked to you about how we were in competition with Texas on keeping the All-Star Race in North Carolina. Those monies are in the House budget that we committed through Governor Cooper and the leadership of the House and Senate. Also, we have some money in there, $40,000, to do an economic impact study through the Department of Commerce so we can get some real numbers about the true economic impact of what these large sporting events do. And very proud that my district is hosting the All-Star Race at our historic track.